Hi, I'm Emily,
Hi, and I'm Tim.
and we are from the Guide to the Magic podcast by the Tim Potter Travel Company. So, today we are talking about why you should go to Disneyland.
Well, why should we go to Disneyland?
Well, you should go to Disneyland because Disneyland's amazing, but we're talking about Disneyland in California compared to Disneyland Paris. Now, you might be thinking that sounds really expensive because it's in California. So we've done a little bit of a price comparison to start with, just to give you a bit of an idea as to why we want to do this comparison. Okay, so as Tim is the travel agent, I will let him.
So basically, we picked the May half term. So that's the one at the end of May, Spring Bank Holiday Week, for a trip. Now, what we've done is considered how many nights in the park, or how many days in the park, and how many nights hotel you want. So we've based it on a 5-night stay at Disneyland Paris. This is with flights from London. We've tried to pick flights in the middle of the day, so you could get cheaper flights if you fly off peak, so such as later at night going out and coming back a bit earlier. But we've picked some flights in the sort of middle of the day, so that you've got some time in the park on the arrival and the departure date.
So this is for 2 adults and 2 children, all of these quotes, and we've gone for sort of a mid-range hotel, so what you would call at Walt Disney World a moderate hotel, just so that you've got a bit of comparison. So for Disneyland Paris, that's Sequoia.
Yeah, so we picked Sequoia Hotel. It's actually the one bang in the middle, practically. It's about a 15-minute walk from the parks. It is on site, and yeah, it's also got some nice features like a pool and a buffet restaurant as well.
Yeah. So for those 5 nights during May half term, for 2 adults and 2 children, it would come out at around about £4,850.
That is quite an expensive quote, to be honest, but it
Mm-hmm.
is one of those peak weeks. It's departing on a prime day, that Saturday of the half term, first Saturday of half term is when everybody wants to travel out. So those flights are more popular, so they are more expensive. So I do appreciate that. It does include the Disney park tickets, so
Mm-hmm.
you get Disney park access for both the parks at Disneyland Paris, so Disneyland Paris Park and the Walt Disney Studios, soon to be Disney Adventure World Park, for the entire duration of the stay. So that would actually give you 6 days potential tickets there, and you can hop between the parks at Disneyland Paris as well.
Yeah. So in comparison, Disneyland in California, so 7 nights during May half term, 2 adults, 2 children, with a 5 day ticket. And what hotel did you pick for this, Tim?
So we didn't pick an on-site hotel because actually at Disneyland in California, there's only 3 on-site hotels. There's a Grand Californian, the Disneyland Hotel, and Pixar Place.
And they're all quite deluxe, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're all quite expensive. They're all in the upper end of prices, and we'd be looking at sort of multiple thousands of pounds to stay there. However, Disneyland is a very much an urban theme park.
Mm.
It's in the city of Anaheim, and in very close proximity. In fact, even closer than some of the Disneyland official hotels are some off-site hotels that are partner hotels with Disneyland, and you can get some really good prices staying on Harbour Boulevard, on Catella, Disney Way, and that area. The walk very short. We've
Very
picked a
short.
hotel that's probably about 5 minutes from the Esplanade, maybe 10 minutes if you get a bit of a delay going through security, but
Mm-hmm.
really close to the park. Probably closer than Sequoia Lodge that we picked at
It's
Disneyland
definitely
Paris,
closer than
even
Sequoia.
though it is officially an off-site hotel. It is a good neighbour hotel though, the one we've picked. We've
Yeah.
picked the Anaheim Hotel, which is on Harbour Boulevard.
And that's come out at £5,100
Yeah,
for 2 adults and 2 children. So you're only looking at £250 more, 2 extra nights, and also going to California, so to the US. So when you go to Disneyland, there's plenty of other things that you can also add into that trip because you've only got 5 days tickets, but 7 nights. And we're going to talk about some of those things today. So hopefully that might pique your interest, and maybe we could go to Disneyland
yeah.
rather than Disneyland Paris.
I think if you're going to Disneyland Paris, I say it does vary in price. There are
Mm.
cheaper weeks, cheaper dates to go to Disneyland Paris, much cheaper. And if you're trying to travel on a half-term week, particularly on weekends, and particularly during those peak periods, the prices can be quite high. Like we've looked, as I say, you can get those cheaper weeks, but we're considering the all in all. Whereas this price that we've looked at for Disneyland in California is very much the norm
Yeah,
price for most periods.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so we're not going to compare it to Walt Disney World, because Walt Disney World is a very different holiday to your holiday at Disneyland or Disneyland Paris. Walt Disney World is more of a somewhere you would go for 2 weeks. It's a 2-week holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, and you might bring Disneyland into a bigger holiday because it is quite a distance to get there. You are looking at a 10-hour flight over to LA. So yeah, you might want to make it part of a bigger holiday, explore more of Southern California or maybe Las Vegas, or maybe do a multi-center in the US. But it's very, very achievable to do on a short 1-week holiday during a half term.
Absolutely.
And actually, because it's not what most people are doing, then you can actually get it for quite a reasonable price compared to doing the equivalent in Disneyland Paris, or any other sort of like popular holiday during a half term.
Yeah. So Disneyland is Walt's original Magic Kingdom.
But saying that, it's not. It doesn't feel like an old park. It feels like it's timeless. Disneyland.
It's charming.
It's charming. It's quaint. It's got a lot of nostalgia there, but it doesn't feel old and it doesn't feel outdated at all.
Absolutely. So it opened in 1955. So they're currently celebrating their 70th anniversary. So they've got lots of things on at the moment for the 70th.
Yeah, we actually just went out to to Disneyland in the summer, and we went to the 70th celebration, and they've got some great entertainment, some great seasonal offerings there, and they've brought back Paint the Night Parade, which is one of the main reasons we went there, to go and check that out, because we've never seen Paint the Night before, and it is a spectacular nighttime parade.
Everyone here is taking part in the celebration.
Disneyland is in Anaheim, which is in South California. So it's not too far away from Los Angeles.
Yeah, you're probably talking about 45 minutes to an hour and 15-minute journey, depending on LA traffic.
Which is fairly comparable to if you were going to Charles de Gaulle or Orly.
Yeah, I mean, Disneyland Paris is not in the centre of Paris, so this is in Anaheim, which is, I say, just southeast. So yeah, just south of Los Angeles. You can get Ubers and Lyfts around very easily. And Anaheim, there's quite a large range of accommodation. There's not only the Disneyland Resort there, there's a big convention centre. We've got quite a lot of leisure things. There's also Knott's Berry Farm not far away. So there's quite a lot of hotels, motels for all budgets, to be honest.
Absolutely.
We've as I say, for the quote we talked about earlier, we've picked a very mid-range one, but in a very good close proximity to Disneyland Park entrance. You can stay a little bit further away and pay even less than what we've looked at.
So we stayed at King's Inn.
Yeah, we stayed at King's Inn, which is probably about 15 to 20 minutes walk from the.
I think it was 15.
15 minutes from the main gates, and yeah, we probably paid half what we were looking at for the Anaheim hotel. But the hotel was a bit more basic, but we didn't really spend a lot of time in the room.
No, but it still had a pool. It still had a hot tub. So after those very, very long days of walking, we would spend half an hour the next morning just having a bit of a soak before going to the park. So it was still nice.
And the room was clean, comfortable, and we had a fridge. We had all the amenities in the room that we would have wanted. So yeah,
absolutely. So I'm just going to do one comparison to Walt Disney World, and I think this is the same for Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. I've written much quieter, but what I really mean is calmer. So if you've ever been to Walt Disney World, it feels very full on, or to me it does anyway. Like everybody is trying to get everything done.
Yeah.
Whereas Disneyland feels much more like a local park.
I think so. Disneyland does have a much more local demographic. It doesn't get huge numbers of overseas visitors,
No.
and like Walt Disney World does. And most of there's a huge proportion of annual pass holders at Disneyland. So those types of visitors are not trying to do everything in the park in a short period of time like an international visitor is. So it does have a very, very different vibe. I mean, when we first went to Disneyland a few years ago, we bumped into a few ladies on the train who were just basically meeting up to have a drink and maybe a snack and ride the train, and they were having a girls' day out, and they didn't really have an agenda. They just did a few attractions and were having a good time by the sounds of it. So
I think it also feels a little bit, I'm not going to say grown up, but like you're not at a place there if you're just an adult group. There's a lot more adult groups at Disneyland than there. Walt Disney World is more family groups, I would say.
Yeah, and Walt Disney World's got a higher proportion of those sort of bigger family groups as well. Certainly, the American families do seem to bring a lot of extended family, and international visitors as well. Higher proportions of international visitors. So again, in more in family groups. Disneyland Paris seems to be more young family orientated. When we go, however, being an adult group, you wouldn't be certainly out of place in any of them. But certainly Disneyland has got a huge proportion of adult groups who have gone there. And again, that goes back into its history in the 80s and 90s when Michael Eisner came to Disney. He got those tried to make the park a bit more grown up for more teenagers, and have a sort of much broader demographic than what it had been known for previously, and I think that's sort of stuck now that those teenagers are now grown-ups.
And I think also they've got quite a lot of cast members that have been there a very long time, so it's not just the young adults working there. They've got people who have worked there probably not since it opened. Now there's probably the old one that's been there since it opened, but they've had cast members who've been working there 50 years at Disneyland, and you don't get that at most of the other parks. And I think that shows.
Yes,
it really does. So it does feel much more like a charming local park. Yes, it's busy because it's Disney, but it just feels. I don't want to keep using the word charming.
I think it feels authentic. It feels like you are stepping back in time. It feels timeless. I think I always say Disneyland feels timeless. They look after the park. The maintenance is really, really outstanding at Disneyland. The service cast members are fabulous, and that goes throughout all the parks, but I think particularly at Disneyland, there's a strong passion there in the cast member community, and that shows on the guest experience. I think every time we've entered into Disneyland, the cast members always got what our story is, why we're here, and
I think there's actually, I'm comparing to Walt Disney World again, but I think there's actually more cast members as well, though.
Very possibly, but I think the other thing we're going to talk about is Disneyland in California. The guest areas are actually really compact. It is the smallest in regards to square footage or acreage of the parks, but they have got so much packed into that. And I think it's not a small park. It's not. It's actually probably the Disney park with the most attractions in it.
So as we're talking about that, so just as a comparison, Disneyland Park. So there's two parks, like at Disneyland Paris. There are two parks. There is Disneyland Park, and there's Disney California Adventure. So at Disneyland Paris, you have got Disneyland Paris and currently Walt Disney Studios.
Soon to be Disney Adventure World.
Yeah, announcement coming very soon, we believe. So at Disneyland Paris, which would be the comparable park to Disneyland Park, there are 26 attractions. There is currently one stage show, a daytime parade, and a nighttime spectacular. At Disneyland Park, there are 40 attractions. It's currently only got a nighttime parade, so it only ever has one parade. So when the Christmas parade starts, that nighttime parade will stop.
Since COVID, they did used to do two parades previously, but at the moment, if they're running the night parade, they're not running the day parade. At Christmas, they will do Christmas Fantasy Parade a couple of times during the day, and they do Paint the Night more than once on an evening as well. But they don't run both concurrently.
So they've also got Fantasmic. And then they have another nighttime spectacular. Now that tends to be quite seasonal. So at the moment it's the Halloween show. It will then become the Christmas show, and then it will return to the standard show. Now that tends to only have fireworks over the weekend, but they do have projections throughout the week.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that it's shows that it's got more of a local, more of a regulars, because they want to go to different times in the year and
Yeah.
experience different things. So it's not the same show, sort of week in week out. They do swap it around,
Yeah.
depending on the season, which
Yeah.
is good. And Disneyland Paris is starting to do a bit of that with
Yeah.
with the Halloween
Yeah, they
and
are.
the Christmas stuff. But yeah,
So, and then if you compare the second park, so Walt Disney Studios is still undergoing refurbishment, but so is DCA, Disney California Adventure. So Walt Disney Studios currently has got 13 attractions, 2 stage shows, and doesn't have any night shows or parades currently. DCA has got 21 attractions, currently has 1 stage show, which is a Disney Junior show. It's still a stage show. It has seasonal parades, and then also the World of Colour Nighttime Spectacular, which is a projection show, which we'll have a talk about in a minute as well. So even though these parks are smaller size-wise, they've got an awful lot more in them.
Yeah, I mean, Walt Disney Studios and DCA are probably similar in size, maybe.
They probably will be when they finish Studios.
Yeah, I mean, Studios has got 2 rides currently being planned to open in Paris. So what will be Disney Adventure World. So there's the Frozen attraction, which will open next spring. And then they've got a Lion King area and attraction that's going to go in there. We only know of 1 sort of major attraction in there. Oh, plus a couple of flat rides as well. So there's 2 or 3 extra rides going into well, what is currently Walt Disney Studios will be with Disney Adventure World.
Yeah.
They've really picked complicated names, haven't they, for us to try and differentiate between these parks. But they're saying that Disney California is still in an expanding state. They've got 2 new rides in the Avengers Campus, plus a Coco ride, plus a new Avatar area that's replacing one of the existing rides. So there's 3 major rides going in there as well. So there's still lots for the future. But as we say, don't ever wait for the Disneyland or Disney World or any of the Disney parks to be complete. There will always be something new that's on the agenda coming up next. So.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I really like about Disneyland when you're comparing it to the other Disney, mostly Disneyland Paris, but also Walt Disney World, is the characters can still roam and engage. Now, this was something that did happen at Disneyland Paris. I believe it probably happened at Walt Disney World as well. But because the parks have got so busy and because of behaviour, they're not able to do this anymore, so they only have these specified meet and greets.
Yeah, Disneyland Paris specifically does struggle with the meet and greets. They are so popular, again, because they've gone for that younger demographic, or there is more of a younger demographic that goes to Disneyland Paris. The meet and greet queue lines are phenomenally huge.
The Mickey Mouse can easily hit 2 hours.
It was actually really nice during the COVID period when you were just doing those very brief selfie spots and encounters, and it was quite good and quite easy to sort of have some interactions with the characters. Now it's a lot more difficult. Even the sort of lower key characters, your Winnie the Poohs and your Eeyores and Pinocchio, they still get quite long wait lines at Disneyland Paris. Whereas at Disneyland they do roam around. They do,
and they engage. So like when they're going from one place to another, they'll be like dancing, skipping along with a child or something, and that's not something that's allowed to happen at Walt Disney World or Disneyland Paris.
And also, it's not unusual for you to see a character on a ride, so especially the carousel, princesses, the teacups, and Mark Twain Riverboat, I think, are the ones where we tend to see characters actually getting on rides with the guests and giving you that unique experience.
It's nice, isn't it? Because it makes you really feel like you're part of the Disney story.
Yeah.
So that's something I really, really enjoy about Disneyland. Another thing is the weather.
Yeah, the weather in California is basically fantastic all year round. They don't really have winter.
No.
The summer can get quite warm, but it's a dry heat, so it's not like the humidity that you get in Florida in the summer, and they don't get the related thunderstorms with that. So it's still quite dry. It's actually notable if it starts raining slightly in California,
It
it
goes on
becomes
the
a
news.
newsworthy story. Whereas it's a very, as I say, very very dry. It's almost like Mediterranean, southern Spanish, northern Morocco style of climate in southern California. So basically fantastic weather all year round. In the winter, you might need a jacket. It might have a little bit of a chill as you get into the evening, but certainly still generally shorts and t-shirt weather most of the year round.
Whereas if you go into Disneyland Paris, the weather's fairly comparable to in the UK, I would
Yeah,
say.
it always makes me laugh when I see on these forums people going, "Oh, what's the weather like in Paris?" And it's like it's not really that much different to it is over here in the UK. It's
No.
just a little bit later. It does get a little bit colder in Paris in the winter,
Mm.
and it does get a little bit warmer in the summer because it's a bit more continental. But essentially, it's very very similar climate. So if you're wearing shorts and t-shirts somewhere in the UK, you're probably going to be wearing shorts and t-shirts in Paris. If you've got your big puffer jacket on, then you're probably going to need it in Paris. So, but yeah, don't have that problem in California. California basically, I'd say it's got perfect
Southern
weather.
California.
Southern California has got perfect weather for theme parks
Yeah.
all year round.
Just sort of going back to the characters as well, another thing that they have a lot of in Disneyland is streetmosphere.
Yeah, so these are just like short bits of entertainment, bands, and character interactions as well. There's the numerous bands. There's the Straw Hatters. There's the Dapper Dan. Barber
the
Squad
marching
Quartet,
band.
the marching band. There's the Pearly
Pirates.
Bands. There's the Pirate, the Pirate Band. There's just lots of these little bits of entertainment. Over in DCA, they have the Five and Dime, which is like a 1920s, 30s sort of swing band, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got all these like little bits of entertainment. We've not counted in the attraction count, but
No.
they are things that just make the atmosphere and the vibe of Disneyland really, really sort of fun,
Yeah.
relaxed, and I think it helps you escape.
I'll put in a few clips that I've recorded. But when we recently went on the Mark Twain, one of the bands joined us on the Mark Twain as well. So we were able to enjoy the Mark Twain with some Disney live music as well. So yeah, it's really fantastic. It really does make your day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So in terms of park hours, Disneyland Paris can seasonally have some quite short park hours.
Yeah, so certainly in the winter time when the nights have drawn in, the parks will probably close around about 8 p.m. So in the summer they do stay open until sort of 10 or 11 p.m. Whereas in Disneyland, generally the parks are open from 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 or midnight, generally going throughout the year. It's 11 p.m. off season. So.
Yeah, and as with any Disney park, if you're able to stay until later at night, that is the best time for queues.
Yeah, because unlike Disneyland Paris put their nighttime spectacular at park close, which I do think is slightly annoying for children, especially if you've got younger children who have to stay up till 11 o'clock in the summer to be able to see the nighttime spectacular. In California, similar to Florida, that's run sort of at nightfall. So when it gets dark at sort of 8, 9 o'clock, and then there is some time after fireworks that you can still go and enjoy the attractions that are still open, because all the attractions open until park close.
Yeah. So, and there's so much things to do. There's so many unique attractions as well, and this is one of the things that we like about Disney parks, and they're starting to go back to this as well. Is that there are unique attractions in California compared to some of the other parks.
Yeah, I think this is why we've picked a comparison with Disneyland Paris. Is the parks are actually fairly similar in the way that they're designed and the feel of it. There's 2 parks at each, but there's still those really quintessential Disney classic dark rides in Fantasyland that you don't get at the Magic Kingdom. They've got a couple of them in Paris, which is great, but they've you get those rides. But there's also these really really high tech, state-of-the-art rides like Rise of the Resistance, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, which is probably the best dark ride in the world. It's exactly the same as the one at Walt Disney Studios.
No,
Hollywood Studios. Told you the naming's going all over the place. Hollywood Studios, and it's an absolutely fantastic ride. Your favourite ride, Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. I wouldn't even say it's state of the art anymore. It's very old.
But it's still a great attraction.
It's incredible.
Always draws a crowd. Always is the
and
number
this
one to
isn't
do
the
list.
Indiana Jones at Disneyland Paris. It's not that roller coaster. It's the one that was supposed to go there until it got budget cut. It did.
Story of Paris.
Yeah. It's very similar. If you've been on Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom, it's the same ride system. It will be a very similar ride going in there.
Yeah,
because it's being rethemed to
the one in
Jones.
Animal Kingdom is being changed to an animal themed story of Indiana Jones, apparently.
Yeah, so, it'll fit. It'll be fine.
Snakes. Why is it always snakes?
So yeah, that is my favourite attraction. But then you've still got your classics like your Big Thunder Mountain, your Space Mountain, and then over at DCA you've got some unique lands as well. So at Cars Land,
Cars Land, I think, is the single most, or the greatest land that Disney have ever built. It's a film franchise I think everybody associates with, and it surprises me every time I go to Disneyland how much Cars merchandise is on people. They must be second to the Mickey Mouse stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really beloved franchise, the Cars franchise, and the land they've built, you just feel like you are walking into Radiator Springs.
And it's fantastic because they decorate it as well. So for Halloween and for Christmas, they decorate it. They change some of the rides around a bit as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's sort of seasonal overlays on the rides, and the decorations are not your standard baubles. They are car parts, they're cones, they're tyres. It really, really has been thought out to the nth degree, as you would expect from a Disney park.
But it was designed by the team that made the Cars movies, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Pixar had a big influence in that land, and you can tell it shows. And the Imagineers have done a fantastic job. There's 2 flat rides, there's an e-ticket, there's a dining, and there's a snack location plus some merchandise, and it's really, really a fully fledged land. But you really feel that you're in that world of the cars. The e-ticket as well, Radiator Springs Racers, is absolutely fantastic. So and great one for all the family as well.
Yeah, and as you mentioning food a little bit there, the food at Disneyland, if you're thinking, so not sit down food, quick service food, so where you just order it on your phone and go and collect it, is so much better than quality than Disneyland and Walt Disney World.
It is the norm though. It is that fast casual food. So Southern California is the home of quick service or fast food. It's where it was created. It's where McDonald's started and a load of other chains that you're aware of. So most of the food is this sort of fast casual, but it's not all burgers. It's not all chicken strips. It has got a huge amount of variety. Some of our favourite places, I love Bengal barbecue. That's basically skewers, so you've got like chicken, beef, and they do veggie versions as well. They can serve that with rice. There's also the quick service food at Tiana's Palace. That's
so jambalaya, gumbo, and then you've also got beignets there, which are incredible.
And even the Plaza Inn on Main Street, that's famous fried chicken. So fried chicken, mashed potatoes, or there is a pot roast, and they do have a few other alternatives as well.
And all served with veg as well.
All served with veg, and it does feel like it's real food and not just burgers and chicken strips.
Absolutely, and then obviously you've got your Dole Whip.
Yeah.
Love a bit of Dole Whip in the tiki room. And my favourite snack comes from Cars Land, from the Cozy Cone, is the salted caramel churro. So good. And
it's also worth mentioning in DCA, the corn dog from Corn Dog Castle is amazing.
It is. It's very fresh. Definitely not your Walt Disney World corn dog, is it? Yeah. Very nice. So the food is definitely a much higher quality.
And so much more choice. They do, like Walt Disney World, they do have mobile order, which I say for most of the restaurants, apart from Tiana's Palace and Plaza Inn, which are more cafeteria style, use mobile order whenever you go, because it will save you a heck of time.
One other thing that I just want to mention, Anyone who's been to Disneyland Paris would probably notice that there is an awful lot of smoking. There are smoking areas at Disneyland Paris. People don't tend to stick to those smoking areas, and the cast members don't seem to manage it very well at all. Now, in Walt Disney World and Disneyland in California, smoking is not allowed in the parks at all. And if they spot somebody smoking, they do manage it. So I have got quite a lot of sensory issues. I struggle with the smell of smoke. It makes me feel quite unwell. So I really appreciate this. People with lung conditions, I'm sure you will probably appreciate it as well. I just really enjoy being in a smoke-free park. It's really nice.
There is smoking areas, and smoking is really restricted to only designated smoking areas outside of the theme park. So even when you step outside onto the Esplanade or go down to downtown Disney, which is like the shopping and dining district, there's no smoking in any of those areas unless you go and find a designated smoking area, which we do really appreciate, because it does make the atmosphere, it does make the experience a lot better when you don't have the smell or the fumes of smoke.
Absolutely. So when you go to Disneyland Paris, it might be that you want to go to Paris for the day or something. That's fairly easy to do, and we can help you organise that. There's also quite a lot of things that you can do if you were going to Disneyland in California as well. So some of the things that we have done before, so we have done it, actually both times we've done it as a multi-trip. So the first time we did it, we went to Las Vegas for a bit, and we also went to the Grand Canyon from there, and then went down to Hollywood. We did Warner Brothers Studios, which is an absolute fantastic studios tour. Highly recommend it. We went to Griffith Park. We went to Hollywood Boulevard, saw the Hollywood sign, and then went on to Disney. The last time we went, we were a bit mad.
We are.
We went to Disneyland, and then we decided to go to Walt Disney World, because why not, once you're in America?
We were going that way.
So other things that you could do is you could also go to Universal Studios in California. There's also Knott's Berry Farm, which is not far away. It's also in Anaheim. It might be that you wanted to do it from San Francisco as well, so you might want to go to San Francisco for a few days and then go down to Disneyland.
There's lots of combinations. You can do it as a long holiday, you can do it as a short holiday. I think a week is fine for Los Angeles. It's enough to cope with that long flight, and you can still fit plenty to do in that trip. The problem is, if you make it a massively long trip, it might then just keep going beyond your budget to be able to afford to go, whereas actually making it a slightly shorter trip and concentrating on the certain 1 or 2 or 3 things that you might want to do in Southern California, including a Disneyland stay, then it certainly stays achievable. I would also say that one of the traps that people fall into is they come to us as travel agents and they say, can you plan me a trip? I want to go to Florida, I want to do Walt Disney World, I want to do Universal Studios, I want to do the other theme parks that are in the area. And you've only got so many days to enjoy them. And the parks are getting busier now. You need a bit more time in the parks to be able to enjoy it, especially if you like taking time out and doing the main street vehicles and doing the sort of lesser attractions and soaking in the atmosphere and dining and using your time so you're not on the go all the time in the park. Then you do need to plan a few days in. I'd say we've on our budget we put a 5-day park. I'd say you probably want a 4-day at a minimum, really, to do Disneyland the first time, and then you've got enough time to do both parks, really, and experience everything in most parks, including a lot of the entertainment offerings and those secret Streetmosphere entertainment offerings that are not always either the ones that you fall upon, the ones that you don't necessarily plan to do.
Absolutely.
But then you can do Universal, you can do Knott's Berry Farm in the same week, and there again, they're not big park resort areas, those parks. They are 1-day parks, and you can do a Warner Brothers tour or do a bus around Hollywood or something like that to fill that week, so you've still got plenty to do in that week. But that's still offering, I think, Southern California offers great value compared to the peak prices that you'll be getting at Disneyland Paris, and you probably wouldn't do Walt Disney World for just a week. We'd probably recommend 10 days, 2 weeks, really, for Walt Disney World now.
Absolutely. So I hope that's helped for us to explain why we would normally choose Disneyland over Disneyland Paris. If you're interested in booking your Disney holiday or other theme park holiday, please do get in touch with Guides to Magic from the Tim Potter Travel Company. I'll put the contact details in the description down below.
And I also say, don't worry about missing out. People think that Walt Disney World, because it's the biggest resort, is the best. They're all different in their own type of way, and Disneyland is a very, very special place. Don't skip it. Always consider it, because you can get the perfect Disney trip at Disneyland.
Absolutely. So do get in touch, and we will see you again soon.
Yep, thanks for watching. See you again soon.
Bye.